Make 2019 your best year ever. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Damon Cart from NLP Gym, bringing you cutting-edge Neuro Linguistic Programming tools and techniques to help you create the life that you desire. So if that sounds good, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. The video you're about to see is a webinar that I did in one of my private Facebook groups, and it went really well, so I thought I'd like to get this out to as many people as possible. Plan your 2019 using these 4 points that I give to you in this webinar. Looks like some people want to be successful in 2019. That's excellent. And I love all the thumbs up. Wait, okay, we got the crying face and the angry face. All right, who comes on to this and is already angry? What are you angry about? Or what are you sad about? I know you're probably sad that it's already almost the end of 2018. I know time is really going by fast, and it just seems to go by faster the older you get, and that's why I'm like, well, I'll turn 41 in 2 weeks, and I'm like, man, I need to get it all done. There's so much to do. Hey, Victor, how you doing? So I'm working on it, and as some of you know who are maybe crossing that threshold of midlife, you know, you start to feel it in your body. You don't quite have the same energy, and the things that you used to take 24 hours to recover from, not as much. It's more like a week now. And I know this better than ever because I've been doing jiu-jitsu. Hey, Laura. Hey, Eric. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to start off with, is just a little, not really a story, but maybe some inspiration before we jump into this. And basically, I got my 3rd degree of my white belt yesterday in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. At first, I was like, you know, they're doing this promotion, they're making it a big deal, they're renting out an auditorium, and because it's not just my school, there's a lot of connected schools. And the guy who, my head instructor, Claudio Franza, was a Pan American champion, and so there's a lot of people he's taught and has given their black belt, and they've gone on and, you know, branched out and everything. So anyway, there was quite a lineage and up on stage of black belts giving out the degrees and giving out the promotions for the new belts for the people who were moving up. And I didn't expect to be like inspired, but I totally was. And it's also an amazing community. They got some of the finest people you ever meet are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. There's something about the discipline. There's something about a lifelong practice and the respect for people who have been doing it for a long time. It's just a great thing. So anyway, these black belts, the people who were getting promoted to black belt, which takes about, on average, about 10 years to do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They don't give these things out easily. So they're getting up, and there was only a handful of them. They got up and they wanted them to actually speak. They couldn't have everybody who was getting some promotion speak because it would have been too many people and it would have taken too long. But the black belts got to speak, and almost all of them said the same thing, that when they started, they weren't thinking about their black belt. It wasn't a goal, maybe kind of in the back of their mind, but they were just like, oh, I just started doing this. And you know, you kind of blink your eyes and 10 years has passed, and now they've got a black belt. And that's a big deal in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The black belts are respected and they're treated as if they're a big deal, and it is a big deal. That means you've been training for at least 10 years and you've done a lot in that time. You've competed, you've won, and you've got a skill set that few people in the world have. And it got me thinking about what we do in personal development. We want to be successful. We want every year to be better than the year before. We want every year, we want to be better than we were the year before. And the great thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is you have a way of testing that, and you have guidance, and you have an instructor, and they have certain landmarks or things that you're supposed to do so that you know that you're getting better. So the instructor knows that you're getting better, and they know how to award your degrees or your new belt based on that. But how many of us have that in our and when we're approaching personal development and self-improvement? Or how are we doing that for ourselves? And a lot of us are not doing that for ourselves. And just imagine if you did. And I'm going to talk more about this as I start to get into the 4 points. And I actually lied. This is not just about being successful in 2019. Sorry to be untruthful. This is about being successful for the rest of your life. So the things that I'm going to give you, the 4 points, are things that you should and can do for the rest of your life to ensure your success. And here's the other thing too. Sometimes it's good to quit something you're working on. Like you start working on something, you're after a goal, and sometimes pride will get in the way and will drive you to want to keep pursuing a goal, even though you're already getting the feeling like this is not something you enjoy. For me, it was my first business was a major one. I was pumping so much effort, so much money into it. I wasn't enjoying it. And I even started to think to myself, if I do get the kind of success that I want, I don't even think I still won't even be happy because I don't really enjoy what I'm doing. That's a good time to quit. It's actually a good time to quit. There's nothing wrong with quitting when you know that this is not going to fulfill you, whatever it is you're working on. And so then you take all that time and energy and you go and invest it in something that will give you that fulfillment. The only reason you shouldn't quit, or the major reasons you should not quit, or that you should never allow you to stand between something, never allow to stand between you and something you want, is if you think it's going to be too hard, or if you think it's going to take too long. Because the time's going to pass anyway. You're going to find yourself 10 years later anyway. You can't stop time passing, and you won't have what it is that you wanted, that you were going after. So just doing goals, just achieving goals, if you're only thinking of it that way, what I really want to challenge you throughout this live call is to think bigger than that. Think your life. Think the vision for your life. Not only is that going to make it easier for you to achieve your goals, it's going to make it a lot easier to figure out what you really want rather than chasing something and spending a lot of time working at something that doesn't fulfill you and won't fulfill you when you achieve it. All right. The other thing I lied about is I'm not going to give you 4, I'm going to give you 5. So I'm going to give you a bonus at the end, a 5th thing, but it's not actually something to do, it's something not to do. So I'm going to leave it at that. So let's dive in. What's the first thing to do in order to be successful in 2019 and for the rest of your life? Invest in your development. And the first thing I'm going to say is invest money in your development. Why invest money? Why can you do this without investing money? Yeah, you can, but studies have shown when you actually have to pay for something, you're going to follow through with it. I wish I could remember the exact studies, but it was something along the lines of even if a person had to pay $1 for something, they weren't going to let it go. Like they wanted to get something back for that dollar. So if you're investing money into something, and the dollar amount isn't actually all that important, you will feel a need to somehow get that back, somehow get something back on your investment. And I've never tried this, but I've heard of a lot of people doing this. They want to do something they've been putting off. So maybe it's something that can be done in a week or maybe a month, and they will take $100 and go give it to a friend and say, by the end of the week, if you don't hear back from me, you get to keep this money. If you do hear back from me, it's because I've achieved or done whatever it was that I was putting off, and I need that money back. So you're basically giving the money away so that you inspire yourself to go out and follow through on something. And then at the end of it, then you get your money back if you did it. But if you didn't do it, you got to let it go. And this works for a lot of people because it's in our mentality. We pay for something, we expect something in return. If you're putting money into your personal development, you're going to get something in return. You're going to want to see results. You're going to follow through with it instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go watch some YouTube videos and then I'm going to listen to them do them." And by the way, a lot of these things that I'm going to tell you, or there's not a lot of them, there's only 4, well 5. I'm sure you've heard some of them, at least some of them before, and you say, oh, well, yeah, I know that, but have you actually done it? That's the main thing here. If you're not doing it, if you've heard it before, it's not going to help you unless you actually do it. So invest in your development. Figure out a dollar amount. And what I'm going to suggest here is $40. And you're going to be thinking, well, wow, that sounds a little bit like your membership program, which is $39 if you get in, $39 a month if you get in right now. And yes, that's by design, because I wanted to make it inexpensive enough so that you could get something out of that $39 or $40. But it was inexpensive enough that that anybody could afford it. But at the same time, you can get something out of that. Think about this. That's $10 a week, by the way. You could probably buy, depends on the books, at least 2 books, maybe a Kindle. If you went with a Kindle edition, you might get it cheaper. You might be able to get up to 4 books, especially if you go with used books. I normally buy used books. It doesn't bother me one bit that somebody's read it already. So imagine if you read two up to 4 books a month that had something to do with something you were trying to create, something you were trying to accomplish. You can probably find an online training for $40, sometimes cheaper than that. Imagine if every single month you spent up to $40, or no, you had to spend $40. Think about it like that. You had to maximize the amount spent. And it's not a lot, but this is the thing. It's a marathon, remember? It's not a sprint. If you put just a little bit of that, a little bit of a financial investment in your development every single month, you're a lot more likely to follow through with it, and it's not going to break the bank. Anybody can find $40 a month. That's a few cups of coffee at Starbucks. There's so many, you'll hear people say it all the time, I don't have any money. I can't, I don't have any money to spend on, not even $40. And then you look at what they're spending money on, and just because it's unconscious now, it's just automatic. They pass a Starbucks. Oh, I have to go have a coffee, or they pass ice cream. I got to have ice cream. And that's, not only good, that's not only not good for your money, that's also not good for your health either. So there's just so much stuff that we often are spending money on, and we say, oh, it's just this little thing or just that little thing. But those little things add up. And these are normally things that are not really going to come back to you. They're not investments that grow. There's no exponential growth out of it. But if you put $40 a month into your own development, imagine how that grows. Imagine how that expands. And who knows how much. It's even hard to measure at a certain point. If you're doing this month after month and you're doing it year after year and developing yourself and following through with it and finding new information to apply to what it is that you want, something's going to happen. You can just do that alone. Like, take this one thing, and this would make you a lot more successful over the next year, and certainly over the next several years. And this is what I'm talking about, getting specific about what you're doing and how to measure it. It's like me with going to jiu-jitsu. It's, I have a certain amount of days every week that I want to go. I go 4 days a week. Now, I might have to miss that if I'm traveling or if I get sick or something like that, and that's all okay. But imagine if I was only going twice a week. Okay, that's only half the results. Well, that's not what I want. I want more results. I want to accelerate this, and plus I really enjoy it, and it keeps me healthy. And so think about it this way: put that $40 a month, carve it out, set it aside. You're going to spend that amount of money on your personal development, and you're totally worth it. I know that, like, when I started having kids and I had a business, and I thought every dime has to go into my business or my family and none for me. And that just did not work out very well. And then when I finally started getting back into that, started buying books, and then eventually that turned into attending a lot of NLP trainings, things started to change rapidly. And of course, I became more successful. I became happier. And when I think about starting back then, just reading those books and what it turned into, the growth was exponential, to say the least, and it has led me to where I am now, which is a very, very happy place. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that too, because you might be thinking, all right, so yeah, I'll do that, but what should I do the training on, or what should I read, or what should I, you know, what information should I be looking to get into? And of course, I'm going to say, well, join my membership and make it, I'll have all that prepared for you. But even if you don't, so if you say, okay, yeah, Damon, I'm just not going to join your membership program, that's fine. Still allocate the $40, and I will swing back around to that to talk about what I think is the best thing to focus your attention on as it pertains to your personal development. Okay, so what's the second thing? The second thing is, so the first one was the financial, like actually investing money into your personal development. Second thing is investing time, and time is more precious than money. You can always make money back. You can't make the time back. Once the time has passed, it's gone. So if you're not already spending at least 1 hour a week on your personal development, change that right now. And I want to make it very clear what I mean by your personal development. So you might say, oh yeah, exercise a few hours a week. Okay, that's your physical development, and that's excellent. Definitely do that. And in a sense, you could put that under the umbrella of personal development. But I want to create a new umbrella. I want to create a new box. We're talking about your personal development, the thing that's you're going to work on yourself to make you not only, well, make you successful. And when I say successful, I mean that has to do with your finances, that has to do with your relationships, your socializing, it has to do with your happiness, your well-being. How do you feel about yourself? That's what I'm talking about with the personal development. Yes, physical is a big part of that, but I'm going to separate those two. Do you sit down and spend an hour actually developing yourself? Now, again, you might be saying, well, sure, I carve out time to read, and that's wonderful too. And even if it's personal development books, that's wonderful too. But when I say work on yourself, that's not passive. That's not I'm sitting back listening to an audiobook. That's not I'm sitting back and reading. That's I'm putting to work what I've read. I'm putting to work what I've learned. I went and took a training, and now I'm going to spend an hour a week really applying that and putting that to work. And that might be practicing, that might be writing, that might be you have a practice partner or you have a coach or something like that. I'm actually talking about doing the work on yourself, not passive, active. What are you doing for 1 hour a week that's active? You're actively working on yourself. Most of us are not doing that. When you do that, though, when you do that, things will really start to change for you. If you don't believe me, try it. And think about it like this. If you work on yourself for an hour a week, if you're not already doing that, and remember, I'm talking active, working on yourself for an hour a week, at the end of the year, that's 52 hours that you spent really working on you and working on creating your vision for your life. 52 hours compared to 0 hours, I mean, that's 52 hours is significant. That's a lot. 52 hours is a lot. Now, you don't have to stop there. You can double that. Well, let me back up. Let's just talk about what 52 hours is. In 10 years, that's 520 hours. So in 10 years, you spent 520 hours bettering yourself, improving yourself, working on you. That is quite significant, especially when you compare it to 0 hours, 520 hours versus 0 hours. 520 hours comes out to 22 days. Imagine you took a training for 22 days. That's a lot of training. That's a lot of work on something, and this is about you. So it's not like you're putting 22 days into something and you're hoping it's going to work out. No, if you're putting 22 days of effort and attention into yourself and what it is you want to create, you're going to be a lot further along. And now you don't have to stop there. Just imagine if you doubled that. You did 2 hours a week working on yourself. Everything doubles. That's over 1,000 hours in 10 years. What can you accomplish when you focus for over 1,000 hours on something? You can accomplish quite a bit. And again, you don't have to stop there. What if you did an hour a day for 5 days out of the week? 5 days out of the week. Think about it. How much time you spend doing things for other people, which is not a bad thing at all. I'm not saying you shouldn't do things for other people. Absolutely. But you deserve an hour. You certainly deserve an hour a week, without a doubt. There's no way you can say that you don't. You deserve an hour a week to work on your dreams, to work on the vision you want to create for your life, to work on your own happiness and your well-being. 1 hour a week, there's no excuse for not doing that. And I would say you deserve an hour a day. But let's be a little bit more conservative than that. An hour a day for 5 days, 5 days out of the week, 5 hours a week. What do the numbers start to look like? Well, in 1 year, that's 260 hours. That's 11 whole days. What can you accomplish with 260 hours of working on something? You can accomplish a lot. You can accomplish a tremendous amount. And a lot of times we think about some of the goals we want to accomplish, and it feels daunting. But if you break that down, if you chunk that down into small bits, and you stretch that out over a year, it becomes a lot more doable, and it becomes possible in your mind. So that's the hard part. That's the hurdle we have to get over when we're setting goals. Is, do I believe it's possible? Can I see it? Can I hear it? Does it seem real to me? Because I used to set goals all the time that were completely unrealistic. Maybe they were realistic in general, like, oh yeah, people can do this, but they were unrealistic for me because I didn't have a sense of what that actually was. I hear people sometimes say they want to be billionaires, and you find out that they're not even quite making six figures. Maybe they're close to making six figures, but then they're talking, well, I want to be a billionaire. And when I talk to people like that, I was like, well, do you even have a sense of what it would be like to be a millionaire? And they're like, well, no, I don't even make six figures. And it's like, okay, well then what? You have no connection to what being a billionaire would be. So let's start with just like what can you imagine? And maybe they can imagine like high six figures a year. And so we start there, and then we want to expand that, open the mind up, and purposefully sort of encourage the limiting beliefs to come to surface, and so that we can bring them into consciousness and change them, of course. But when you jump to such grandiosity, or there's something you want, you just go, oh, it just seems unimaginable, like it's just too big. Okay, well, let's break that down. So when you think about how long it takes to actually accomplish something, there's a lot of big things you can accomplish in 260 hours in a year. I mean, there are tremendous things that you can accomplish when you spend 260 hours, and that's the thing. It has to be consistent. You need to stick to it. You don't need to overwhelm yourself. You don't need to burn yourself out. You just need to be consistent about the hour you spend 5 days a week, and it will happen. And when you think about after 10 years, what that would turn into, after 10 years of spending 1 hour a day, 5 days a week working on yourself, that's 2,600 hours. I think I got that right. Yeah. That's what my calculator said anyway. And so that comes to a total of 108 full days that you've spent working on something. 108 full days, that is a lot of time. Believe me, you can accomplish what it is that you want. And I encourage you to think over 10 years, because 10 years goes by fast. And it seems like it goes by faster and faster as you get older. So it's the incremental growth. It's the little bit that you do every single day that then compounds on itself. And if you've watched the webinar, I have the link in the description right here, the webinar about the 3 problems with NLP trainings. I talk about compound interest and how Einstein said that a compound interest was one of the wonders of the world. And if you don't utilize it, If you're not investing using compound interest, then you're going to not receive the benefits of compound interest. You're going to pay the compound interest. In other words, it's going to come out of your pocket. That's what I mean by the compound interest. Using personal development, applying the principle of compound interest to your life. So yeah, you can think of, oh, I have this one goal that I want to achieve, and then you go and achieve it, and then you feel, okay, that's pretty good. A few hours that I'm feeling good about that, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I do now? I'm feeling kind of empty. Goal is not going to fulfill me for the rest of my life. Okay, I got to come up with another goal, and then I got to go chasing that just so I can feel good about myself for a few hours after I accomplish it. That's really empty, and that's what happens when we lack a vision. But what if you have an ultimate vision, especially like a 10-year vision of what you want your life to be like in 10 years? And then you can break that down and say, okay, what do I want my life to be like every year leading up to that, the progress of getting to that? And then you break that down, okay, well, 5 days a week. Or if you're really obsessive like me, 1 hour a day, every single day. I'm going to work a little bit on myself. And basically, that's the idea behind compound interest. I'm going to invest a little bit. I'm not going to accomplish one goal and say, yep, I did it, and then run off. No, I have a bigger vision for my life, and I'm going to incrementally get there, and I'm going to enjoy the process along the way. I'm not going to think, oh, I'm going to withhold joy and happiness until I achieve my goal. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't ever do that. I mean, sometimes you have to withhold instant gratification in order to achieve a goal, like instead of eating the ice cream or the cake, yes, you have to put that off if you want to lose weight. So anyway, that's the idea behind compound interest and incremental growth, and it's what I found to be the most effective. And like I said, the time's going to pass anyway, so you might as well be making good use of that time, even if it's not that much time that you have every day that you can focus on it. And maybe you can't focus on it every day, but you can start somewhere. And as long as you're consistent, you will see the results. Okay, this one you probably heard a lot. And well, I know probably all of you know this, but how many of you are actually doing it? And that is to put yourself around people who are succeeding at whatever it is that you want to succeed at. This will make it seem possible to you. Now, I think the reason why people don't do this is because they've surrounded themselves with their friends from childhood, if they're still around, or they just have their comfortable social circle. And to go and pursue being around people who have more than you do or have more success than you do, that doesn't always feel good. You kind of go, ooh, like, you might even feel like not worthy, or you might feel less than. And this is one of the reasons why you should do this, because most of the time, most people who have a lot of success are happy to talk to you about it, and they don't look down at you. And if you get a sense that they're looking down at you, or they think they're better than you or superior to you, these are not the people to be around. These are toxic people. Don't be around those people. The people you want to be around are the people who are very grounded and successful and have more success in your mind than you do. And this is not about comparing yourself. This is about meeting these people, seeing that they're real, seeing that their success is real, and it will become more real for you. And it's likely you will feel they don't even have to say anything to you or like try to hold you accountable. You will feel like more accountable to yourself when you're around these people. So seek these people out. The other thing too is to really become aware of toxic people. From time to time, like I'll make a new, I wouldn't say friend, and more like an acquaintance. And then the more I get to know them, it's like, okay, yeah, this person's just really not good for me. They're not a bad person. This is not good for me. And thing that comes to mind is people who complain a lot. And maybe they have, some justification for that complaining, but that's just not the attitude that I want to have. And I don't want to slip into that. So I don't want to be around these people. The other thing that happens, and I've really been shocked by this lately, people who so when you start to get what you want, when you start to become successful, or more successful than you already are, because I'm sure all of you are successful to an extent, the more successful you become, the more you're going to make certain people around you very uncomfortable. And the reason for that is they're thinking, and this is a very primal thing. If any of you have not checked out Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature, it's his latest book, go get that book. Somebody joined my membership just recently, and she said, is there any prerequisites? And I was like, no, there's no prerequisites. And she said, do you have any suggested reading? And I said, yeah, pretty much anything from Robert Greene. And his latest book is amazing. And we need to recognize this in ourselves. When somebody around you, somebody you know personally, gets a promotion or gets some sort of success, if you feel that little sting of like, they didn't deserve that, or I should have gotten that, or I could do that. Okay, first of all, know that that's normal. That's human nature. Okay. But the wonderful thing about being a human too is that we're very intelligent, and we can catch ourselves and say, okay, I'm going to choose to be happy for that person rather than want to take them down or be envious or think negative things about that person. I'm going to change this right now, and I'm going to decide I'm going to be happy for this person. And when you do that, things will start to change for you. When you're happy for other people's successes, no matter what, no matter if you don't feel like they really worked for it, if you just want to call it luck, whatever, be happy for them, and that will change you. And it's going to take some practice. And then you start recognize that in yourself, but also recognize it around other people. When people start acting funny, like even with people who are really close to you, and I'm not going to air my dirty laundry here, but some family members who are really close to me, have tried to sabotage me in certain things, and not majorly, but and just doing the things that I love doing. I was really shocked. The last people that you would think. And that's what happens sometimes. And sometimes we kind of go into denial about that, and we don't want to admit that someone you love so much and who loves you back. And I do believe the people love me who this happened with. It's like you don't want to believe it, so it's so easy to overlook. But you look out for this, and if you're not doing anything about it, a lot of times you kind of fall into their delusion that you don't deserve this, because that's what's happening for them. They're like, well, they don't deserve it. And so they might make some sort of snide remark, or they might say something about your success as if it was pure luck and you just sort of happen upon it. If the people who are making comments to you like that, those are the toxic ones. Those are the ones who are jealous, and those are the ones you really need to get away from, or just spend a lot less time with those people. Because if you keep spending a lot of time with them, and their sort of anger, or whatever you want to call it, jealousy, you will start to fall into their story rather than the other way around. It's more likely you will fall into their story of you not deserving it, rather than them conforming to your story of becoming more and more successful and happier. So be very cautious who you spend time with. Are the people you're spending time with, are they really uplifting you, and are they supportive of you, or are they trying to hold you back? And like I said, probably every single person on this call right now knows this, has heard this, but are you watching out for it for real? Is it happening around you and you don't even realize it, or you're overlooking it because these are people you really care about? So be very honest with yourself. Be very honest with yourself when it happens for you too. Somebody gets something and you get jealous, be honest about it. Okay, I'm feeling jealous. But then once you admit that, you accept that, you can change it and say, okay, well, I'm choosing not to be that way. I'm going to choose to be happy for this person. And when you do that, there's a whole new sort of like infection. It's the success infection. You start to get happy for other people like that, and then it becomes a lot easier for you to step into that state And it's actually empathy. You're feeling empathy for that person, and not like in a negative way. You're feeling empathy for them in a successful way, which makes you feel more successful and will make it much easier for you. When you're coming from a state of feeling already successful, you're going to achieve what you want much easier, much faster. Okay, now we're down to the fourth one. So if anybody's wanting a recap of everything that I said, invest money every month in your personal development, at least $40. That's anybody can come up with $40 a month. The second one was invest at least 1 hour a week in developing yourself, actively developing yourself, not just reading a book. That would be applying whatever it is that you're reading, or if it's a training, applying it, not just sitting back passively and listening to the training. And then third, put yourself around people who want you to succeed, who will be happy with your success, and also people who are more successful than you in a certain area. Yeah, just break it down. Like, well, I want to be more financially successful. Who do I know who has more financial success than me? I'm going to go talk to that person and spend time with them. And then the same with, maybe there's a person who has a fantastic relationship with their partner. Go find out what that's about, and they'll be happy to share that with you. So, and then stay away from the people who are making the little comments like you're not really deserving of your success, or that it was some sort of like luck or something like that. You need to separate yourself from those people. Okay. And then last but not least, look for mentors. This is probably the hardest one. And again, I say last but not least, I have a fifth one, but look for mentors, and you're probably not going to find them right away. If you've listened to my videos a lot and you've heard me go on and on about Steve Andreas was definitely not my only mentor. He just happened to be the one who influenced me the most, taught me the most. And he was definitely the most skilled NLPer I've ever met. And for whatever reason, he took an interest in me. And not only did that touch my heart, because there's so many other people he could have mentored, and he did. I wasn't the only one, but his time was limited, and he chose to give me his time, and I was always so grateful for that. You're not going to probably find the mentor yet, or like that's going to take some time. But how do you find a good mentor is what I can share with you. And it basically comes down to when you're earnestly looking for or wanting to learn something or do something, become good at something. I earnestly wanted to become better and better at NLP. And so any teacher who I met, I asked them a lot of questions, and I was always offering to reciprocate in any way that I could for their time. So I was showing them that I was grateful, and I was showing them that I was earnest. And eventually, and this took a few years, eventually it ended up leading me up to meeting Steve Andreas, and then spending years being mentored by him. Had I not been sincerely earnest about learning NLP and pursuing it, it would have never led to that. I don't believe it would have happened. And there were a few people who, top teachers whose names I'm not going to name, who I basically asked them to be my mentor, and what it came down to is they were too busy. And that's fine. And I think they, that just happens. I was never angry at them for that. But it's hard to find mentors because people are busy. And even if you pay for it, it's not quite the same as maybe like the mentorship that I have, the idea of a mentorship that I have in my mind. But anyway, be earnest about what it is that you want and that what you want to learn, and eventually the mentor will show up, I assure you. But that could take years. But that doesn't mean you always keep your eyes open, and always keep open to that and looking for that, and be slightly detached from it so that you don't have your expectations don't go up and then they crash and all that. So just kind of, it's more about staying open to that and looking for it, but not expecting it. And your mentor will show up at some point. Okay, I'm going to go back to talking about the first one, where if you're investing $40 a month in your personal development, what should you be working on specifically? First of all, start off getting very clear about what it is that you want. And this goes beyond just having a goal. This is about knowing what you value. And if you just saw my last video that I put out, which was yesterday, go beyond the goal. And this is the values elicitation. And you might say, well, I've done a values elicitation. When's the last time you've done one? I do them. I redo mine all the time. And especially they're going to be different in different areas of your life. So go back and really spend time with your goals, finding out what is this really about? What am I projecting onto this goal that I think this thing is going to give me? Because really, you already have it. It's already in you. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue goals. It just means you need a way to express this. And a goal is sort of the feedback. It's the evidence that you've done something. But like I was saying, a lot of these black belts, they didn't know that becoming a black belt wasn't really a goal for them, but they got tremendous value out of training, so they kept doing it. And maybe in the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, someday I want to be a black belt. And then that someday came, and to them, it wasn't like, this is not the end point. There's so much more. And so they just keep going. And that 10 years passes really fast. So the clearer you are about what you want, then the more you will just naturally gravitate to it. So get very clear about what you want, and know that the accomplishment of a goal is not the whole story. In fact, it's a very small part of the story. Go very deep with what your values are. And then the other thing would be creating a strategy, knowing how to create a good strategy to achieve what it is that you want. It's also be detached from the strategy. And this really comes a lot easier when you're very clear about what the value is that you're wanting to fulfill. The strategies are disposable. If they don't work, you try another one, and you just keep rolling through the strategies until you find something that works. And also, when the strategy stops working, which is almost always the case, at some point it will, toss it out and you try another strategy. Now, this is very difficult for people who don't know what their values are, because what happens is they end up overloading the strategy with emotion, and this has got to be right. This is the right thing. It's got to work. And then when it doesn't, they're crushed. So when you're connected to your values, the strategy is, if it's not working, then it's not fulfilling its function, and then you get rid of it. And you can and feel good about that, because you're connected to the values that you're wanting to express and fulfill. Okay, so that's the further explanation on what to invest in learning about and doing, and how to apply it and make it work. Now the bonus is and so I thought this was only me, but it turned out there's a lot of people who do this too. When people get so like right now, hopefully, I haven't been reading your comments, and I don't know if anybody's been making any. Some of you have. Okay. What a lot of people do is they get very excited about their goals. They get very excited. So I'm hoping you are excited. I'm super excited about everything that's going on in my life and the things that I'm pursuing. And when you get that way, when you go into that state of being super excited about what it is you want to accomplish, and you're thinking about 2019, and you're going to make 2019 better than 2018, even if 2017 was about the same as this year, and you're like, okay, well, now I'm gonna take charge. I'm gonna implement these 4 points, and I'm gonna spend more than just 1 hour a week, and I'm gonna spend more than just $40 a month, and I'm really gonna do this. And okay, well, in order to make this happen, I'm gonna cut out all the things that I enjoy doing, so that I can make this happen. No, do not do that. That is a terrible thing that a lot of us do, because we're so hyped up about achieving something, and we think, okay, well, I'm not going to have time for this other stuff. I want to put full attention on this. And then your exercise goes out the window. Taking walks, that maybe that's something that you really enjoy doing, that goes out the window. Reading fiction, Like, I don't have time for this. It's I can't read fiction because it's not informational and it's not furthering me along, or I can't watch an hour of Netflix, or I can't go watch a movie because I need to spend all my time doing this. That's a terrible thing to do. Maybe we could call it austerity. It's not the way to achieve your goals. If you're making yourself miserable in the attempt to really achieve your goals or accelerate your progress, and you're making yourself miserable because you're taking all the little pleasures in your life out, chances are you're going to crash and you're not going to achieve what it is you want. And I did this to myself when I started my first business. Not only did my cholesterol go through the roof and I gained about 20 or 30 pounds, I was miserable and depressed. And I went to a therapist finally. I finally kind of broke down and I didn't want to go, but I was like, okay, I got to do something. So, life's not what I want it to be. And that was one of the first things he asked me. He said, what do you enjoy doing? I said, oh, I really enjoyed taking walks. I really enjoy reading. I really enjoy doing yoga. And he said, oh, and I really enjoy writing. And he said, are you doing any of these things? I said, well, no, I don't have time. I'm, got young kids and I've got a business. And he says, no wonder you're in my office. He said, go out and do those things. I was like, I don't have time for it. He's just do it a little bit of it. I was like, all right. Started doing a little bit of it, and amazing thing, my business started working better, even though it wasn't the business that I wanted to do. And it's amazing how just small pleasures in life can really help you become more successful. So don't cut those things out. If you have hobbies that you enjoy doing, keep doing them. These are important. And maybe you do less of them. Maybe you spend less money. Maybe you don't. And when I say things that you really enjoy, like, be careful about that, because if it's things that you really enjoy but are not good for you, food that's not good for you, and you're spending money on that, that maybe this is a good time to reallocate some of that money to something that you will enjoy but is better for you. So when I say don't get rid of all the little pleasures in your life, you might want to get rid of some of the ones that are not good for you. That would be helpful. But taking walks, like my thing, yoga, writing, these were all good things for you. Even if I was writing fiction or something like that, these are all, in general, healthy things for you. And I cut them all out of my life thinking I can use all that time to achieve my goals faster. And it was not the case. I completely went into a depression and my health wasn't good. So it didn't work. In fact, it made the opposite happen. I became worse, and my business became worse. Okay. Now I will take some time to look at some of your questions. We're almost at an hour, so we'll do about 10 minutes of questions. Before I get into the questions, though, so as far as what to do, if you implement this 4-part plan, I assure you, your life will be more enjoyable, especially if you're putting this toward things that you really enjoy, the vision you want to create for your life. You will be more successful in 2019. You will be more successful every single year after that. And if you're wondering like what to do, and you can do this on your own, so you don't need my membership program to make all of this happen. It just so happens that no, it doesn't just so happen. That would be wrong. The 4-point plan here is part of what I base this membership program on, is to make it easier for people to just step in and do this. So it's $39 a month if you get in by Friday, and that price will be locked in for life. It'll never go up. So 10 years from now, when you're have achieved whatever it is, that great, wonderful thing, that vision that you have in mind that you will cultivate and create, you'll still only be paying $39 a month. So if you factor in inflation, $39 a month in 10 years is not going to be the same. I'm only doing that until we close this enrollment on Friday. Then that'll never be offered again. The price will go up on the membership, and it won't be locked in for life. It will be subject to going up. So you can figure out your own plan. You can do all this by yourself, or if you would like some guidance from someone who has spent years failing, and then failing enough times to finally get help, to get some training, to learn tools, to go through this process over and over again. If you want guidance for all of this that I'm giving you, that's what the membership program is about. So I can't mentor everybody one-on-one like Steve did for me. I can give you the next best thing though, and that's basically giving you guidance at the beginning of every month, which will be a lesson. It'll be, and we'll start off by getting very clear about what it is you want, just like what I'm telling you in the first step. We're going to work on that and figuring out what your values are and using your values to create a vision for your entire life, but also we're going to chunk that down into the different context of your life. So that's where we're going to start with this. And then after that, it's about how are you going to actualize and realize this. And so you'll have that lesson. Then I'm also going to give you a hypnotic induction to go with it. So all you have to do is just sit back and listen to the hypnotic induction. And I would recommend doing that twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. But if you only do it once a day, that's good too. The reason for that is to get this into your unconscious, get the lesson into your unconscious. Your conscious is probably about 20% of your mind. Your unconscious holds a whole lot more. And so if you can get this into your unconscious and have it working from both parts of your mind, it's going to accelerate your progress. So you get a video lesson, you'll get the hypnotic induction, which will be an MP3. And then I'm going to come on and do a live call through Zoom. So it won't be like this. It'll be an actual interactive phone call. Well, not phone call, interactive call through Zoom, where if I can take questions from people. I haven't tested the platform yet, but from what I understand about Zoom, you can do all those things. So that's how it will be done. So it won't be like this where it's kind of like we're closed off from each other. We can actually do hot seats, which if anybody's interested in doing those, we'll be doing that as well. So around mid-month, we'll have a live call, and I will be answering questions. This is a way to keep you accountable. This is also a way, if you've been struggling with any of the exercises that I give you, we can troubleshoot that and get you going. And these will also be recorded and you'll have access to them. So if you can't make it to the call, you can still watch a recorded version of it. And then there's of course, I have a closed Facebook group for this. I also have a closed Facebook group for this membership. I already do, actually. When you sign up, you get access to it right away. And for further support. So if you have questions, I will answer them. I will be moderating the group, but even better than that is you won't be just getting my perspective, you'll get the perspective of your peers as well, which is extremely important. Community is important. And when we're all working on, and me included, this is my program, but I'm not like creating this program and saying, okay, you guys and gals, go do this. No, I'm going to be doing it too, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of my stuff. I'm actually going to share with you a lot more personal stuff in this program, and sure, you can go and tell other people or whatever, because it is semi-public. I mean, it'll be private because it'll just be us, but yeah, it's things I'm feeling more and more like sharing some of my personal stuff. If it can be helpful to you, I'm willing to do that. And so I'm going to be going through this process with you. So in the Facebook group, we get everyone's perspective, or everyone who's willing to comment. And that is all very important. Like when people start chiming in and giving their perspective, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about saying, hey, this is my experience and this is what has helped me and this is what has hurt me or got in my way. All of that is priceless. And that's really what I'm offering here. I heard Tony Robbins say that. He said, what a coach does, coach isn't superior to you. A coach isn't better than you. They don't have everything figured out. They're not like the super success or whatever who's going to tell you how to, live your life. A coach gives you a perspective. It's their perspective. And so when I keep using this analogy because I just went to jiu-jitsu this morning. When I'm going to jiu-jitsu, and every person I train with, even if they're the same belt as me, they're my teacher too. And they don't necessarily teach me by telling me. They're teaching me by, when I spar against them, I'm learning something. I'm learning that person's way of doing something, which broadens my perspective. And then, of course, there's the teachers there who have spent years doing this. So their perspective is very different than mine. They have a much broader perspective and understanding of how the techniques work and how this whole, my main instructor calls it the jiu-jitsu puzzle. And you start finding the solutions to the riddles, to the puzzle, or you start finding the pieces. And that's life. This is your life. This is your life puzzle. How are you going to put the pieces together to create the life that is fulfilling, that's exciting for you, that you're enjoying? And it's not being judged by what society or even your family or your culture thinks is successful. It's success on your own terms. And I can't stress that enough, how much my life changed when I finally realized, well, what was really going to be successful for me and make me happy. And the cool thing is not only am I tapped into that and doing that and creating that life, I'm still discovering that, because there's still so much more to discover. I don't know what the boundaries are. I don't know what my full potential is, but I'm having a hell of a time, and I mean in a good way. I'm having a great time testing that and figuring that out. And it's so exciting to be living life that way, to be thinking that like all the things that you've thought about doing, those are like all your theories. So maybe you thought about writing a book, or maybe you thought about running an Ironman. I'm not running or doing an Ironman, or some marathon or something like that. These are your little theories. It's time to start testing those. And maybe you unpack it. Maybe you unpack it a little bit and go, well, yeah, I don't think that's really going to fulfill me. So, well, that's good to know. Then you're not going to chase that theory. You're going to go do something else. You're going to go find your other theory and say, okay, well, yeah, this is the one that really has some energy for me. And it's a little scary, but I'm really curious about it. And it's a little exciting. I'm going to go do it. I love to do this. All right. I know I said I was going to get to your questions, but I feel giddy right now. So what I love to do is I love to find, I have this thing called the flight deal it's a thing on Facebook. And if you like their page, they will send you posts about, they find these really cheap flights, and you don't buy directly from them. They just show you how to buy a ticket to all these exotic countries for just a little bit of money. And sometimes these come up and like, I don't have a plan, but I see I saw the one for Hong Kong, and I was just like, pull out my wallet, and I bought the ticket. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have no plan for this, but I know I want to do it, because it's a little scary to just book a flight like that. I don't really know anything about Hong Kong, but I know I want to go. And so I just book it, and then I figure out everything else after that. And so take those things that you're curious about, and maybe they're not glamorous. Maybe nobody's going to think highly of you if you go do that or what, but none of that matters. There's something there for you. There's some sort of energy that's pulling you in that direction. Go test it out. Go see what that's about. And so maybe you have a theory that you can write a book. Maybe you have a theory that you can make $1 million a year. Maybe you have a theory that maybe it's possible you can become at middle age in the best shape of your life. Go test that theory. This is the time to go do that. All right, so one more thing. So what this membership program is about is really accelerating your progress. We're going to be following the 5 points that I listed here. And when you have a guide, when you have someone who has a system, you're utilizing that system, and there's a technology there, which of course is NLP, and you have someone and really the focus is not NLP. The focus is you. The focus is your journey, your vision, what it is that you want to create for your life. We're just going to be using NLP to help you get there. And I'm not limiting myself to NLP, by the way. We're going to be doing lots of stuff. You put in the time. You put in the financial investment, which means you're going to hold yourself to this and follow through with it. You have my guidance. You have the perspective of your peers. This is just going to accelerate your progress tremendously. It just makes things go a lot faster when you don't have to figure everything out. So anyway, all right. If you want to join the program, the link for the free webinar that I was giving away is in the description here. You don't have to watch the webinar. You click on that, you get to the video page, and if you want to just go straight to signing up, just keep scrolling down. You'll see where you can do the rest. I hope to see all of you there. We've gotten several signups, and I'm just really excited to get started. And we'll be getting started January 1st. All right, so let me see what we've got here. I've got a lot of comments. So some of them were kind of taken out of context whenever I was talking, so I don't quite know what some of these are pertaining to, but that's okay. See, Simon says, I like saying that. Simon says, enjoy the journey as well as the destination. That is it. If you're not enjoying the journey, either you need a shift in attitude, or there's a good chance the destination, you're not going to enjoy the destination as well. I've achieved many goals that I felt very empty afterward. It was just not what I wanted. It was what someone else, it's what other people thought was great. And then I got it, and it was like, okay, the only joy I get out of this is by showing it off to other people, but that's empty. So yeah, know what's going to fulfill you throughout the journey, and that's going to keep you motivated. That's going to get you up every single morning, excited to be living your life, because your life is getting closer and closer to looking like that vision. Okay, somebody, let's see, Maria said, Robert Greene, yeah, I know, he's amazing. Yeah, The Laws of Human Nature, can't recommend that. All of his work is amazing. Let's see, I highly recommend The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, which explains a lot more about compounding. Okay, nice, thank you for that suggestion. See, Aaron says, what reading would you recommend for a complete beginner to NLP? None of the early books. Let me say that. If you're a beginner to NLP, the worst thing that you can do is start reading the first books, like The Structure of Magic. Those early books were written like engineering manuals, just to put it nicely, like textbooks. So the authors that who I would recommend are Steve and Connie Ray Andreas. They did write books together. They wrote books separately. And to me, they were the first people in NLP to start writing books that were user-friendly and were not for the engineer type. And nothing wrong with the engineer types, but Richard Bandler and John Grinder have very sort of like engineering, mathematical type minds. And they weren't able to, surprisingly, they didn't really get across NLP very well. And I think it's different now. If you see them giving talks, they do much better about explaining NLP, and they're great teachers. But those books were just awful, and I've forced myself to get through them, some of those early books, and I got through them, but it was painful. And I talked to Steve about it, because I asked him the same question. I was like, well, what books would you recommend? He said, well, of course, my books. And he wasn't saying that in an arrogant way. He just really believed that how he was teaching NLP was the clearest way possible. And I found him to be right on about that. So anything from Steve and Connie Ray Andreas, I would recommend. They have several books. I don't want to say publicly what authors to avoid, because some of them I know personally. Just stick to Steve and Connie Ray Andreas, and you can't go wrong there. And they have plenty of work. And then once you've read their books, come back and talk to me if you still want more. We can go from there. But that's where I would start. All right. So while we're waiting and I don't see any other questions, I also want to say that, like I said, this Friday we're closing the enrollment. The first lesson starts January 1st, and then the lessons will come out the first of every month. So it'd be 12 lessons a year, 12 hypnotic inductions a year, 12 coaching calls a year. And I didn't mention 10% off. You get a 10% discount off of any of the online trainings that I do, the ones that I currently have now and any future ones, as well as coaching with me. If you want to do one-on-one coaching with me, you get 10% off if you're part of the membership. I forgot to mention that. I really hope that you implement this. It's not hard. It's actually quite simple, and it will work. I assure you, it will work. Prove me wrong. this will work for you. Get this set up and going, ready for 2019, and make 2019 your best year. The thing that happens for so many of us, and I did this year after year, like I had always such high hopes at the beginning of any year. Like, this is the year we're gonna, I'm gonna do some great things. My life's gonna be better. I'm gonna make more money. I'm gonna be happier. I'm gonna achieve maybe some physical goals, drop a few pounds or whatever, or get stronger. And then I'm at the end of the year already because it passes so fast, and I didn't do anything differently. And the year feels like it's the same as the year before. Stop doing that. Put yourself on a plan that you're going to enjoy. And at the end of the year, you can honestly say you're better off now than you were the year before. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you're getting happier every year of your life, if you feel like you're improving in some way in every year of your life, your relationships are stronger, you're making more money. That's what life's about. Like, that's what it should be, right? And it's easier than you think, and you're closer than you think to your success. I love talking about this. I love sharing this. And I just want to share more of it. And I want to take this journey with as many of you as possible. Will all of the information for each month be available for the whole year? Yes. Not only will it be available for the whole year, it will be available for forever. So as long as you're a member, you can go back to, if you're a member for 10 years, you can go back to the first year and revisit the first 12 lessons. So it's always going to be available to you as long as you're a member. All right, so Daniel says, good stuff, man. Thank you. I'm so looking forward to this. I'm really excited. If there's anything that I didn't answer for you, post it in this group. Send me a message if it's really personal, and I want to make sure you get all your questions answered. Okay, once again, thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday. I really, really enjoyed this, and so even if you don't join the membership program, please follow these 4 steps if you want to be more successful. And I'd love to hear about it. Regardless if you're in the join the membership, tell me. I love hearing about people's successes, especially if I had some sort of influence in you doing something that made you successful. That does a lot for me. This is why I do this. I told somebody one time, I got to a point where bettering myself and having my own transformations got to a point where, like, I wanted more. Not like it wasn't enough, but it was like I knew there was more. And that's when I started coaching, and that's when I started teaching. And the joy and the fulfillment I get from doing that and watching other people go through their transformations is absolutely amazing. If you guys want to stay on, I can tell one more story. Not that I've been telling a lot of stories, but I still see people on. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this up with this thing. I was doing free meetups. I was doing these meetups. So I live in Santa Cruz. San Francisco is about 70 miles north of me. And there was this woman who lived in Hillsborough, which is a suburb right outside of San Francisco, and she had a mansion. Hillsborough is a pretty upscale neighborhood. And she really believed, and hopefully still does, in what I do. And she said, Damon, if you want to do some meetups, I'd love to host you doing meetups in my house. And I thought, like, wow, that's amazing. She's opening her house up to strangers from meetup.com, and I get to share, NLP with people. And I didn't have an online trainings at the time. So I would put out a meetup, and I would drive up to Hillsborough to her house. She would feed me amazing Indian food. She was from India originally, and I love Indian food, especially home-cooked Indian food. And so she would feed me, and then I would present to a group of people who would show up. And then it got to the point where, like, I was enjoying it and everything, and some of these people started becoming my clients, or they started showing up to my live workshops. But I decided, driving up about 70 miles, I'm spending money on gas, and I'd like to make something back on that. So I'm going to start charging $5. And an amazing thing happened when I started charging $5. 90% of the people scattered. 90% of the people who were coming regularly to the free meetups stopped coming. It's like $5. Like, you can't even spend $5. Uh, and but they were replaced by new people. I thought, that's interesting. It's not like I lost everybody. I lost most of them, but they were all replaced. Okay, and what then happened was pretty much all of these people eventually became people who were showing up to my trainings that were paid for and becoming my coaching clients. And then I started to realize, I was like, okay, well, that first group of people, they just weren't gonna, they were against spending any money or investing in themselves. And the next group were people who didn't see much value in free stuff. They looked at free stuff and thought, well, if it's free, it's probably doesn't have a lot of value to it, so they didn't come. So it was interesting, just the change. And I get this a lot. I get people calling me, or not calling me, but sending me messages, sending me emails saying, asking me to work for them for free, like do a coaching sessions for free or give them free training. And when this happens, like I question their situation. Some people are broke and poor, and I've done free coaching sessions for people who are like really down and out. Like they are honestly do not have resources and help. And so I've done that, but most of the time it's not that. Most of the time these people have plenty of resources. There's just something inside of them that they can't pay for it. They won't pay for anything. It feels like something's being taken away from them anytime they put a dollar down on anything. And that's a purely a scarcity mentality. And when I end up telling these people, I say, I cannot help you, because if that's your attitude about this, you're not even willing to spend money on your own development. You're basically saying I'm not worth it. And so if we can't cross that threshold, there's nothing I can really do to help you. And I've never changed their mind. And I actually don't want to work with people who are like that, because they're not really earnest. Like I was talking about, that earnest wanting to learn, wanting to become better at what it is they're doing. There's something else going on there, and they're not willing to admit it to themselves. But one of the people who started coming to the free ones, the free meetups that I was doing, and stuck around even whenever I started charging, he came to every single meetup when it was free. And he was probably the only one who stuck around from the free group when I started charging $5. And then he started coming to all my trainings. He ended up paying me for coaching. He took every one of my live trainings, and he has taken every single one of my online trainings. And his name is James. I don't think he's on the call right now. His name is James, and I did a video with him when we were in Vietnam together back in October of this year. And you can go see it. It's on my YouTube channel. It's not too far back. If you go look in the video section, it's about what NLP can really do for you. And this guy is transformed. Like, he is such a different person than the person I met when he first started coming to the meetups. And he goes into that. We go into that in the video about how NLP has changed his life. And here's the strange thing about him. I wouldn't say he's not, but he's not a person who's like he's not really an NLPer. He's just someone who has used NLP to change his life, to make it better, and to overcome his limitations and really create the life that he really wants to live. And he lives in Thailand now, and he's not super rich or anything, but he's living the life that he really loves and really enjoys. And that's what it's really about. And he's not dependent on anyone else. He's fully, dependent on himself. But he's created that life. And he started telling me this. We were hanging out in Vietnam because he lives in Thailand, it's nearby. And I told him I'd be in Vietnam, so let's hang out. And he starts just kind of like telling me all this stuff. And I was like, wasn't really even thinking too much about, because I think of him as a friend now. I wasn't thinking of him as like a student or a client. And he starts telling me how much he's benefited and how he wouldn't be doing the things that he was doing had it not been for my trainings. And I was just like, it so warmed my heart to hear that. And I said, can we get this on video? And he's like, well, yeah, of course. And so we shot that video. Anyway, so when you have that mentality that, I'm ready, I'm going to invest in myself financially. I'm going to invest in myself with time, and I'm going to stick to it, and I'm going to be consistent about it. The world will open up for you, and you will change, and you will create what it is that you want, and you'll be surprised by what satisfies you and fulfills you. You're going to discover yourself. You'll discover a lot of things about yourself that you didn't realize, and you'll discover how simple sometimes it is to be successful for you, what success means to you. All right. Okay, I stayed on way longer than I expected. Thank all of you for staying on. I see we still have plenty of people on, so thank you. I love doing this, and all right, I'm just going to shut up. I will. I hope to see all of you in the group, and if not, stick around in this group. And like I said, I'd love to hear about your successes, even if they have nothing to do with me. I just like hearing about people being happy and doing what they want and living the life they want to live. All right, that's it for me. Have a great rest of your Sunday, or if it's Tuesday for any of you. I know we have some people from different parts of the world. I really appreciate you being here. And if I don't see you in the group, if you don't join the group, have a great 2019. I hope it's successful beyond your imagination. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them right here down below. I will respond to them. I will answer them. If you'd like to sign up for the membership program that I talked about in this webinar, the link is also right here in the description, and it's also pinned right here at the top of the comments. Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. There you will find some free NLP training and some free hypnotic inductions that you can download directly to your phone, your tablet, or your laptop and get started right away. Check out NLP Gym on Facebook as well if you'd like real-time updates on whatever it is that I'm up to, new trainings that I'm putting out there, or talks that I might be giving. Also, I have a private Facebook group anyone can join, and I also go live there to give more exclusive videos and other exclusive content. Last but not least, if you like this video, please click like right down here, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do that now by hitting the subscribe button, and also click the bell so that you get notified when I put new videos out. Take care and crush it in 2019.